Hello, my name is Clara Maveglia and I founded a Cultural Entrepreneurship Institute in Berlin. Today I am in Stockholm and my guest is Lizzie Scheja. She is the director of the Association for Jewish Culture here in Sweden. Welcome to our community, Lizzie Scheja. Hello, Lizzie. Nice that you found the time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi Clara, thank you very much. My name is Lizzie Scheja. I was born in Israel, raised in Israel, studied in UCLA. I went to the School of Fine Arts and studied theater. Was acting for a while, but actually fell in love with directing and never acted again. Chose to stand behind the stage and direct, which I loved very much. I lived in Paris. I was studying there. And then I moved to Sweden. Actually, I didn't move to Sweden. I came to Sweden to work. I didn't know I was going to stay here. I was planning to go back to Paris and continue my studies. I was the cultural attaché in Sweden. I came here to direct Fiddler on the Roof, and then got the offer from the embassy, from the Israeli embassy, to stay as cultural attaché, and I thought I would give it a try. I was afraid that that type of a job would be very bureaucratic for me, a person who comes from the theater. But actually, it was a fascinating job, and I could really have free hands in developing contacts and building a cultural platform for the Israeli embassy. And so I stayed at the embassy almost 8 years. And throughout those years, I'm 3 years into my work, I met my husband, Staffan, who is a pianist, and I basically stayed in Sweden. So this is in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. And what influenced you when you were a child? I mean, it was something that you had inside yourself, discovering the arts and the fine arts, or how did it happen?
Well, actually, when I was a child, I was reading a lot. I was reading nonstop. I was going to the library. I was reading books. I was swallowing books, really books that were not for my age even. I remember the librarian told me, "No, don't take this one. This is for older people." But I was fascinated by books and by writers, authors, and I wanted to be a journalist. That was my aspiration. Not so much theater, not so much fine arts, but I was writing. I started to write when I was 6. I was publishing small poems, small stories in first in school magazine, and then in an Israeli youth magazine. I was a reporter, something called Young Reporter, and I was writing poetry and stories, and so I thought that was going to be my mission in life, and that's. I think something happened. I went to UCLA, and I wanted to study theater. I wanted to explore that. I wanted to challenge myself. Usually I'm not a person that stands on stage, that I don't have an urge to perform, but I think that I was challenging myself there, but I didn't stay in the acting business, right? I chose anyway to direct, where I could really design my own programs. So it's a bit like writing. You take something from scratch and you build, you write, or you design, or you direct.
Through the senses, we can communicate without words. The arts move our souls usually.
Yeah.
How was your experience? Can you confirm this, or how do you think it works?
Of course, I can confirm that. I think that the art, the real and good art, transcends words. A painting, or especially music, you don't need much more than that. I mean, it really goes under your skin. It affects you on an emotional. You don't have to understand it, but there is something about the experience, the emotional experience, that gets into a person, and that is common to wherever you are and wherever you come from.
Yeah. So, but you're working very much with cultural projects now. And what fascinates you about this kind of work?
Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of order in that. It's I've always, since I am a director, a theater director, and I was working parallelly at the embassy as cultural attaché and doing large theater productions until my kids were born. And then I had to, I stayed at the embassy and I did less theater. But I didn't give up my love for the theater and for the stage. So I started to direct a one-time show with writers, meetings with writers, musicians, painters, theater people. We took a topic, for example, Jewish identity, and actually in cooperation with Goethe Institute, it was a few years back, and we invited people to speak about it. We spoke about Otto Weininger, and so we read Otto Weininger, the last night of Otto Weininger, that Yehoshua Sobel wrote, the Israeli playwright. So we had a theater presentation, we had a discussion with Paulus Manka, with some other people from Germany, from Austria, from Israel, from Sweden, from France. So I started to develop that type of activity, of programs, in which they're interdisciplinary. You take a topic and you discover it from different angles, from the arts and from the academic angle. And this is how I started to do it. Until I acquired some kind of a reputation, not me, but my programs acquired some kind of a reputation, and I saw that there was a demand to these types of meetings. And a few years ago, I started, together with other people, something called the Association for Jewish Culture in Sweden. And this is a unique platform that does these types of programs, that does cultural programs on a very high level, that invites people from all over the world, and that puts in focus, I would say, the Jewish cultural perspectives, but make it relevant to contemporary society. I mean, we use the Jewish experience, the historical experience of a minority group in Europe that was and still is integrated, very much integrated into the society, a part of the society, but still kept an identity. And we look at that, and from that we took, or we take aspects that we want to examine nowadays. And so
let's stay a little more at the time when you were Israel's cultural attaché to Sweden, because not so many people know exactly how does it work, actually culture through diplomacy. How is this working? You were inside, but most of the people don't have real access to that. How is the connection between diplomacy and culture?
Well, don't forget that I was not a professional diplomat. I did not come originally from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I was recruited through, for the fact that I was a theater director, that I had a successful production here, and that I knew some people, very few people. I was new here in town. So I think that, first of all, I had an ambassador with vision. So he wanted to recruit a person from the cultural sphere and not from the diplomatic sphere. And I was lucky. I was lucky that way. I was also lucky to start my life in Sweden as cultural attaché, because it was a great platform to get to know people, to be in touch with the major cultural institutions, to be connected to all the festivals, and to form cooperations with cultural centers from European cultural centers. I felt that my mission was to really bring Israeli culture here to Sweden and present it. And it wasn't difficult, because there was, and there still is, a lot of curiosity and interest in Israeli culture. I know I wouldn't have done it if I didn't believe in it. Israel is a vibrant country. Israeli culture blossoms. we are forerunners in dance, in literature, in music, in arts. So for me, it wasn't difficult to form corporations and to present Israeli culture. It was, I knew that I was selling an excellent product. I knew that if I bring here a dance group, or if I host a writer or a caricature exhibition, that I have good people to bring and good message to give. So it wasn't difficult. It was actually, the doors were open, and I had a great time.
But so we stay, you know many artists, and you stay very close to that and to this kind of work. So I would be curious to know actually what is your opinion about the relationship between talent and hard work?
Well, you know, I'm married to a celebrated pianist who can tell you better. Well, there is, of course, you have to have talent, but you cannot skip the hard work. Not if you're a pianist, and not if you're a cultural entrepreneur or an actor or a dancer. I don't think there is any shortcuts. You can thrive on your talent for a while, but it has to be continuously cultivated. And this is where the hard work comes into the picture.
Yeah, but if we stay in Israel still, Israel is very well known also for the entrepreneurship area. So you are actually a cultural entrepreneur yourself. Why it is so important, entrepreneurship in the cultural area especially?
Well, you know, because I think if you have ideas, just like in any other area, if you have ideas and you want to materialize them, either you sit and wait that somebody will come to you and somebody will give you the money, or somebody will ask you to work for this person, or you decide that this is what you want to do, and you put an effort into it, and you make it work. I mean, it's not that easy. I'm not saying that it's easy, but you have to have a drive. You have to have, of course, a good track record. So I've had a few years of work behind me before I opened that association. So I had a track record, and I had people who could support my work and who believed in me and in that idea. And also there was a need for that type of a platform in Sweden. There is no such platform for Jewish culture. It would have been more difficult for me to realize it, let's say, in New York, when you have tons of similar platforms, let's say. But I think we're very special in Sweden, in Scandinavia.
So you are the founder. I want to repeat this because it's a very, very special platform that you started. So you are the founder of the Association for Jewish Culture in Sweden. And what motivates you to start such a platform and to start so many successful events and festivals?
Well, I've been working throughout the years realizing and implementing cultural programs in many venues and in cooperation with many institutions. And I was doing it on a regular basis. I was doing it ever since I came to Sweden with the Israeli embassy, and then when I stopped working for the embassy, also I did big programs and interdisciplinary programs. So for me it was only natural to take it one step further. And there were people who always been very supportive and enthusiastic about my work. So we were sitting and thinking, why not make it into a platform? Instead of me doing all these programs independently and all the time in cooperation with different institutions, let's create our own platform, our own home for Jewish culture in Sweden. And it was 4 years ago. We were sitting and thinking, and the people who I work with were very excited about the idea. So we built it, and as we thought, it was very well received. People like the idea that there is such platform for Jewish culture, and it's a member organization, so we are growing. We have a lot of members. It's open for everyone. You don't have to be Jewish to be a member. You just have to like the idea of Jewish culture, and Jewish culture is a huge thing, but when we speak about Jewish culture, we speak about something which is universal, which is a cosmopolitan culture, about creativity, innovation, experiment. It's not so much Jewish heritage, and it's not so much religious aspects in Jewish culture, but it's all very much connected, of course. But this curiosity, this questioning, interrogation of life philosophies, which this is what interests our crowd, and we have a lot of people who come to our programs.
Yeah, and next week starts the festival, the new project, the festival Minoritäten, Minorities in Dialogue. Can you tell us something about this?
Yeah, no, it's not a festival. It's not a festival. It's Jewish Culture Season. We call it Jewish Culture Season. And actually in Sweden, we couldn't find a good title. We couldn't translate it, so it became Judisk Vår, which means Jewish Spring, which is very symbolic. So it is a spring of Jewish culture, and we divided it into 4 topics. Those 4 topics are very much connected to Jewish identity, but they're also very relevant to other minorities and to society. And those pillars or topics are relationships to one another, or to the other, or to oneself, mobility, again, universalism, cosmopolitan culture, intellectual mobility, physical mobility, the possibility to move to another place and start and be a part of that place, but also intellectual mobility. The third is words, and the strong connections that Jews have to words and to the written texts and to books. This is a very big component in Jewish identity. And of course, the last one is memory, and we speak there about the collective memory, but also individual, but mainly a collective memory of a group. And the Jewish people have, at least 5,000 years of that collective memory. So throughout those 4 months, upcoming months, February to May, we will have those 4 topics in focus, and we have invited fantastic people to participate, of different backgrounds. We have very well-known people like Bernard-Henri Lévy, like Herta Müller, Nicole Krauss, Edgar Keret, and Steve Reich. But we have also people who are well-known in Sweden, maybe not less internationally, and other people who are not at all well-known, but they are representatives of different minority groups. And we're very, very happy that so many are coming to debate and to participate and to talk. It is divided into keynote speakers, panel discussions, and what I'm really proud of is a debate series in which people from different backgrounds come to debate with the audience on topics such as Muslim-Jewish relationships in Sweden, in Malmö, in Europe.
Wow.
The role of minorities in society, in shaping society. Are we afraid of integration, diversity and creativity? All those things that we want to put on the table and we want to discuss. And we want to discuss it with other minorities, because it's not enough that we sit and discuss it with ourselves. We have many Muslim people coming, and many Roma people coming. So we are very happy about that. And that's why we called it Minority Dialogues, because the starting point is the Jewish experience. But again, as I said it before, we make it relevant today, and we believe that the Jewish group has a responsibility and a possibility to make a contribution to dialogue with other minorities. We have that possibility, and we should reach out and try to find common grounds and make this place a better place.
Mm. So fascinating. But if we stay to the arts, because this is the center still, access to the art we know that can improve human beings. How does cultural work can contribute to solve conflicts? I mean, this is what you just said is very courageous. How do you think this can work?
Yeah, I don't know if it can make a huge difference. I don't know if it can save the world. I mean, and sometimes you lose hope. You know, in face of what happened in Paris a couple of weeks ago, sometimes you're confronted with this inability to explain things and to. I lose sometimes hope, and I feel like, okay, the gaps are so huge that maybe there's no point. But then I saw that manifestation of 1.5 million people on the streets, and I remember then, oh, we are the majority. The majority is sane, so we have to join forces and make make this dialogue happen. But to your question about the arts and the role of the arts, I think the arts have a big role to play in shaping society, of course, the arts and culture. Again, it's not going to change the world. It's not going to solve the conflicts in Iraq and Syria in this right now, but it can definitely strengthen the moderate people, the people who believe in dialogue, who believe in humanistic values, who believe in democratic values. I think that culture and cultural meetings can definitely be an important part of it. But that's why I really believe in interdisciplinary meetings, meaning I think that it's okay to have a concert, but it's great to have a concert with a discussion about, let's say, the political and social settings of the period in which that piece was written and what makes it relevant to today's society. I want to see the arts coming together with the academic or the scholastic dialogues. So we make it even better, not better, I'm sorry, but bigger, wider platform.
Yeah. This is very special concept. So then I can imagine that it's now difficult 1 week before such a big event starting to think further. But for the future, which kind of challenge would tempt you?
You know, I tell you the truth, this was the one that opens next week has been so challenging, has been such a long voyage until I see it happen next week. I will not believe, but it's still a lot of things that need to be taken care of. But after that, I think that the next project would not look so challenging, because this was really something special. It is happening in Malmö and in Stockholm. And we chose Malmö for various reasons, because of the social tensions there. And it's a double programs in both cities for 4 months. There is a program that we are planning to hold next year, and it is Galicia. This is the title of the program, and it is about Galicia, about the Jewish life there, and in that part of Europe that was extinguished in the Holocaust, but the life that was there before, and in Ukraine and Odessa, in Poland, all that area, the music, the art, the literature that was flourishing there. And so that will be quite an extensive program, something similar to the one we did last year. Last year we did Jewish Vienna, the formation of modernity. Oh. It was 100 years to World War I. And we wanted to speak about that turn of the century Jewish Vienna. It was a place of cultural creativity and fantastic innovation in many fields. And we wanted to check what was very special about that place at that time. And if there is such a space now of cultural innovation, of creativity and experiment. We were wondering if it's New York or Berlin or Tel Aviv or the internet. We wanted to explore that, and that was a very successful program. And the year before, we did the transformation of memory, Jewish perspectives, in connection with the 100 years to the birth of Raoul Wallenberg. which was an official year that the Swedish government declared on. We were a part of that. So it was a 3-day seminar also about memory. How do we deal with memory? And we had great people like Claude Lanzmann and Istvan Sabo and Hilde Schramm and other people. Last year with Jewish Vienna, we had the Nobel Prize laureate Eric Kandel and many others. And this year, of course, we also are going to have fantastic people talking. But about next year's program, I don't know yet. I haven't started it.
Your work is contributing to the further life of this culture, and so we see the identity is more culture than, I don't know, economy or other things. Culture is really.
I just want to say, you're absolutely right, because we believe, and I believe, that Jewish culture does not belong in a museum necessarily. It is a vibrant and dynamic culture that changes. I want to see it relevant in today's society, and that's why it's true. We are not preserving something that was 100 years ago. We are speaking about it. We are reminding of it, but we try to make it relevant, and we try to make it dynamic in today's society. We wanted to make a difference now. And we believe that the Jewish culture, especially the European Jewish culture, which was such a flourishing and blossoming part of Europe, should stay alive and should continue to be dynamic and should continue to make fantastic contribution to European and world society. And that's what we're trying to do in our work.
We were talking about so many different and fascinating things, but what is the most important to you? Is there one that is, or is everything so important? But if you would say there is one that is especially important, well, what would this be?
Well, I tell you what I think. For me personally, and I don't know if it's a message that is relevant to other people, but if I would go through the Jewish tradition, to the Jewish cultural tradition, I would say two things have been very important. One is family and the other is education. And so I think family and education are, for me, the most important thing in life and the most important message that I could give to other people. But I take now education, only education. The thing in the Jewish tradition was that we never have a guru. There is no holy icons. Nothing is holy. We are debating, we are arguing. There is no ultimate truth that we go by. The rabbi is not holier than the next person, the beggar. The synagogue is just a place. It's not a holy place. It's a meeting place. And this is the important thing. To question, to examine, not to accept things or notions or concepts as ultimate truth. This will help us stay away from fanaticism and from radicalization, because we are free to think, to create our own opinion, to form our minds, and to educate ourselves. So I think this is my message, to continue to question, to examine, to be curious, and to study, to read and to study, and to be open-minded.
Wonderful. And if there are young people now listening to you and they are interested in a career in the arts, what would you suggest to them?
A career in the arts is one thing, you know. Then you have to, as we said, have to have a talent, a drive, and work hard. This is what I would say. I don't have any other advice. If you want to be a cultural entrepreneur, I think you have to have great ideas and try to implement them. Again, you have to have a drive, and you have to work hard.
Thank you, Lizzie. Now I really understand better what you're doing with your work, and especially today, that is the day after of the Memorial Day of the liberation of Auschwitz. I really have the feeling that every step you do, every book you publish, you are working against the aim of the Nazis, meaning to the destruction of the Jewish culture.
Well, that's a very big responsibility to take. I wouldn't say that my work has to do with wanting to compensate for what the Nazis did. I think, but of course, myself and the many people who work with Jewish culture and Jewish education, we all contribute one drop and another drop to the void that stayed in Europe after the Holocaust, after World War II. Of course, the destruction and annihilation of the Jewish people from Europe left a void, and especially in the cultural field. But there is Jewish life in Europe now, and there is Jewish creativity and Jewish activity, Jewish schools. So we all do something, I guess, to revive Jewish life in Europe. And I think the only answer that we could do to the atrocities of the Nazis is to continue with our culture and with our education, and to go on with that, to teach our children to remember, and to continue with our meetings, our books, our schools, our debates, and go on like that. This is the only thing that we could do.
Yeah, being alive, wonderful. Then now we are really getting to the last questions. So what do you think in the end, what does really matter in life?
Now you take me back to what I said before, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a very personal question. For me, it's a feeling of belonging. It's a feeling of a home and a family. And by home, I don't mean necessarily 4 walls. But an inner home, something that you carry within yourself, an integrity, knowing where you come from, knowing where you're going to, something that you carry within yourself and that you're very true to. I think this is what's important. And of course, the family for me is the most important thing.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you for
Thank you
everything.
very much, Clara. Thank you.